Pretty much, we're trying to do every Wednesday is going to be like tank Q&A, and you know, you guys can throw in tank armories, tank logs, tank vids, you name it, tank video, yeah, all that. So, and you can ask questions. Doesn't matter the class. You guys, you know, just ask what you know, really anything from, you know, rotations to, you know, itemization to positioning to cooldown usage and all that stuff. So, like I said, I've got one of each tank. I tank Heroic Dragon Soul on each of them. I've killed Heroic Madness on several as well. So we'll go ahead and start it off. The whole thing is more or less a Q&A, so it's not going to be a lot of me talking. It's going to be a lot of me just interacting with you guys. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and start throwing them in chat. There's a little bit of a delay between what you hear and when you type, so just kind of keep that in mind if I'm not answering immediately. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them. If you have logs that you want me to go through, videos of your guild or anything. What tank class is best for a beginner? It depends. Do you mean like a beginner playing WoW or a beginner to tanking? Because it's a slightly different answer. I would say, you know, if you're just brand new to the game altogether and you want to be a tank, I would probably recommend something like either a paladin or a druid. They're a little bit more straightforward as far as cooldown management and things like that that are really big. And I'm not saying that they're easy. I'm just saying that they're a little less complex in the cooldown department. And a lot of what tanking is converted to since, you know, if you guys remember tanking like back in, you know, early TBC, late vanilla, whatever, to, you know, Wrath, and even now, tanking has evolved more from just like, you know, having to actually pay attention to your threat, but you don't really have, you got maybe one or two, excuse me, you got maybe one or two cooldowns. Oh my goodness, hang on. Yeah, so it's more or less evolved from, you know, having one or two cooldowns and having to pay a lot of attention to your threat. It's transitioned away from that into a lot more of threats less of an issue, but things like cooldowns are more of an issue, you know. And I personally like it. There's just, it makes a lot of decision making, and you know, it's a lot more of a strategical you know, play style than just smashing buttons for maximum threat and then hitting your one cooldown every so often. So, I mean, that's why I would say a druid and a paladin are a little bit, they're just class. I would put druid and a paladin in one bracket and then a DK and a warrior in the next. And that doesn't necessarily mean that a paladin's, like I said, it's not saying one's easier than the other. I'm just saying from like a cooldown standpoint. A druid, a lot of your mitigation is active. You get your mitigation through savage defense, which happens by you attacking the boss and things like that. And it's just RNG in the terms of that it's crit related, and you know, you have bark skin, you have survival instincts, and you have frenzy regen. So you've got 3 cooldowns, all right. And on a paladin, you've got I mean, you've got a few more cooldowns, but you you know, then you get into the other bracket of DKs and warriors. And like a DK, you've got, you know, Vamp Blood, Bone Shield, AMS, Death Pact, Army of the Dead, Dancing Rune Weapon, you know, little things like Rune Tab, just how your mitigation works with Death Strike, Lichborn, you know, all of that stuff. It's just that you've got a lot more cooldowns to deal with, and it's a little bit overwhelming for some of the players that are just starting. So you want to, if you're wanting to try and ease into it, I would recommend, and then you, excuse me, and then from a warrior standpoint, you know, you got Shield Wall. I mean, there's not as many cooldowns with the warrior, but there's still a lot more going on because you got like short cooldowns, like 30-second stuff or less. You know, like shield block, certain situations, spell reflect. Your shield wall's on a short cooldown. You've got last stand. You know, I mean, it's a little less than a warrior. A DK is by far and above the tank that's going to have the most cooldowns. Then it's going to go warrior, then warrior and paladin, and then druid. So. I don't know if that really answers your question. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand what I'm getting at. You know, certain classes are more difficult for other reasons. But if you're someone that has a good grasp of being able to multitask and do a lot of things. I mean, that's one thing that draws me to playing a Death Knight is there's a lot of different options all the time, and you never really feel like you're helpless to the point where it's like, you know, oh shit, I don't have something for this. You know, you kind of always do have something for that on a Death Knight. But with that said, you know, DKs, they've got the ability to take spike damage more so than any other tank class. So, I mean, you got a DK's really, there's a lot of finesse involved, but it's not taken away from any of the other ones. So, yeah, let's move on from that. If I didn't answer your question, you asked me to clarify, that's fine. What should I gym as a tank when I'm at 381 eye level? A lot of people ask me about their bears and what they want to gym. If you're playing a bear tank, you basically need to ask yourself one of two things. Are you going to be tanking everything all the time, or are you going to find yourself, like main tanking, whatever you want to label it, are you going to find yourself off tanking a lot? You know, and an example of main tanking versus off tanking is if you're a blood tank on spine and your job is to tank bloods, you're pretty much main tanking that fight, alright? But if you're somebody that's going to be tanking amalgs, and once the amalg's dead, you're going cat and you're DPSing the tendon, that's more of an off tank, okay? In a situation like that, you want to focus a lot more on agility, alright? So if you're just a tank that's taunting off for certain debuffs or whatever, and then the other tank picks it back up, that's going to dictate really, you know, pretty much all of what you're going to itemize for on your Feral Druid. If you find yourself in a lot of off tank situations, focus on agility, but if you're going to find yourself tanking the majority of things, at least do a hybrid gymming of Agi Stam or full Stam. Alright, and I try to go Agi Stam on my Druid just because a lot of the fights I end up being cap for him a lot. It's you know, you get a lot more. That's one of the strengths of a Feral, is that you have the ability to help out with DPS a lot, you know. So and a lot of it depends on the fight, man. Something like Madness, you know, Stam is pretty keen because you can't block, but then again, your Agi is going to affect your Savage Defense, and that does work on the Impale. So, I mean, they each have their benefits there as well. So, I mean, but something say like, say your Saj, okay, Stam is king all the way around because Agi's not going to do shit for you. All right, if you're a bear tank and you're gym full Agi on your Saj, you're just asking to get your shit pushed in, okay? Because the Agi's not, you know, there's no mitigating anything. It's just straight magic damage. Okay. So maybe that answers your question. If it didn't, I'll get back down to your next question then. Heard for a Prot Warrior, Jimmy Mastery beyond CTC cap is beneficial. Any truth behind this? That's absolutely correct. As a warrior, it doesn't. There's no like. It keeps scaling. You know, any access block goes into crit block, which is even better. I mean, hell, that's 60% reduced damage from a block. That's like more powerful than a shield wall. So that's why warriors just keep scaling and keep scaling. The flip side of that is a warrior doesn't have a lot of like magic damage. I mean, outside of your shield block, which is, you know, a decent amount of magic mitigation. You know, outside of that, you really just don't have shit. You know, so it's just you got to pick your poison. You know, you can. Oh, if any fight was just straight physical damage, a warrior is going to be king, and a warrior that's gym full mastery, itemized full mastery, is going to be king of kings, you know. But the instant you start throwing magic into the mix, you just got to find that balance where if you feel safe and you don't feel like you need more HP, like take Madness for example, you can't block the Impale. Okay, well that mastery on a warrior is not going to do shit for you at that point, so you're going to need stamina, you know. So I mean, it's a lot of the answers to what you guys are asking about, like which tank is best, which, you know, itemization. It's a lot of it's fight dependent. But if you want to kind of go with one, it's a general overview. Yeah, as a warrior, you want to stack mastery. What's the hardest fight I've ever tanked? Muru is pretty tricky, pre-nerf. I don't know. Heroic Rag was fun. I mean, it just depends on a lot of different stuff had different difficulties of, you know, being, or different levels of difficulties, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like Yogg Zero, you know, I mean, that wasn't that hard to tank, but once you get to the last phase, it was very critical. If you missed your taunt or something like that, it was a done deal, you know. I mean, you know, Spine, having to deal with the timings and all that, I mean, that was, you know, tricky. Heroic Rag in phase 4, you know, I mean, like once Dread Flame's under control, it's completely on the tanks and worrying about your positioning. I mean, actually, no. Thinking about all that now, holy shit, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. Answer to that question, hands down, without a doubt, Heroic Lich King. can't believe that I was letting that slip my mind. Good question. That's the answer. No question about it. That's, yeah, Heroic Lich King. I was just thinking about current content only for some reason. So, yeah. That fight had it all. Movement, cooldowns, I mean, everything. Reaction times, you know, with the files and decision making. It had all of it, man. That's probably my favorite. I mean, that fight is just insane. What would be the best weapon for a DK tank? The axe off your size? Yes, you want to be, you want to have the two-handed axe off your size. That's great. That's best in slot for a DK tank. Alright, we got some logs here. That's good. That is good to see logs. We're going to go through those for this guy. This is Lindoran 310. Should I pop Bone Shield whenever you can? No. You want to make sure you're using it at the right times. If you know you're going to have different cooldowns up, you don't want to necessarily stack them, but at the same time, you don't want to sit on it because it's only on a 1 minute cooldown. It's got 6 charges. I think it's like a 2.5 second ICD or something like that in between the charges. So, you know, you're looking at you know, 20 seconds or somewhere around that. Not super good with math. So somebody, you know, 6 2.5, like 15 seconds or something. So, yeah, I mean, you don't want to sit on it, but it's not just like, oh shit, Bone Shield's off cooldown, let me use that, you know. Like there's some fights with like buffets going out, like Rag Phase 4. You don't want to put it up whenever you can because it's just going to start getting eaten away. You want to put it up right before you taunt and then go because, yeah. I play a bear during Warlords and Oz fight. How would you manage your cooldowns? A lot of it depends on how your guild is going to do the bounces. We do a 7-7-7. Some guilds do a 10-5-5, 10-5-3, you know, 7-5-2. I mean, there's all kind of different, you know, bounces that you can go. We do 7-7-7, but either way, really, you need to make sure that, you know, if you're doing 7+, you need to have a cooldown up right before, you know, he's eating it, because that's when he's hitting his hardest. The way you usually, if you're doing 7-7-7, which is what, you know, if you see our video on YouTube or things like that, more so for a tank, you want to have, as a druid, what I would recommend is you want to Bark Skin and Frenzy Regen at the, or I'm sorry, excuse me, you want to Shield Wall going into like the last 10 or 15 seconds before the ball hits him, alright, and then once you phase change, you want to use your 4-piece, alright, so that gives the raid a cooldown going into the first transition. During the second transition, you need to get a pain suppression going into the second, like the last 10 seconds or so of the second, going into the second black phase, because you're not going to have shield wall up. You want to Bark Skin the second psychic drain on each, the second psychic drain of each phase. You want to have Bark Skin up for that at a minimum. Have a priest try and bubble you if they're quick on that. And then on the third time, your 4 pieces, or your shield wall and your 4 pieces back up. So it's basically like your 3-minute cooldowns are up for every other one, and then the one in between those you need to have a pain sup, you know, and probably a pally sack or something on you. How do I feel about the focus of some fights this tier on unblockable physical damage and its effect on block tanks? I'm going to give you a biased answer because I've been playing a Death Knight for a long time, pretty much almost since the beginning of Death Knights. I actually have zero fucking remorse whatsoever for a tank that has unblockable physical damage. I think block capping is stupid, and it makes balancing the game, you know, a lot harder than it needs to be from a tank perspective. So you'll find zero remorse for me for, you know, impales being unblockable. I actually enjoy the fact that, you know, a block tank actually has to, you know, do something other than just stand there and let their block work for them. And I mean, hey, I play a paladin and a warrior too, so it's not like I'm just saying that because I have a DK. I'm just saying that, like, block capping and being able to guarantee that you never take an unmitigated or undodged, you're either going to dodge parry or you're going to block a hit. And not having to worry about ever taking a full hit is just dumb. Because, you know, here you've got a DK over here who's working his ass off, making sure his cooldowns are just planned out. You know, you don't ever want to leave yourself open for that huge, just, you know, punch to the nuts and get 1 or 2 shot real quick. You know, you're having to work 10 times harder to accomplish the same thing that a warrior paladin is just going to be able to accomplish by standing there. Now, I mean, there's obviously some other things going on with the warrior and paladins, like using shield block, holy shield, their AD, their shield wall, their last stand. I mean, there's tons of other shit going on. I'm just saying that, like, I don't like the fact that, this is only my opinion, I just don't like the fact that how block works, you know, and I mean, supposedly they're changing that in Mist, which is something that I'm really looking forward to, making tanks work for their mitigation instead of just it working passively. You know, there's no fun involved, there's no skill involved with your mitigation being passive. So, let's see. What do you think about the warrior tank changes in MOP, where most offensive abilities have no rage cost besides Sharkly? And rage will be a resourceful. Yeah, that's a good question, Senator. To answer that, I don't know. I mean, I would be very, you know, like I just more or less said, is I'm open to anything like that, and I think that that kind of thing is good for the tanking environment or tanking community. You know, making people constantly make decisions, because that's one of the draws to playing a Death Knight. You're constantly like, do I Death Strike right now? Okay, I'm good on absorbs. I'm going to wait a second. Okay, I'm going to Death Strike now. You know, I mean, there's just constant decision making. You know, there's not that just, okay, block, 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 you know, yawn, block, block, block. It's all doing it for you. You've got to make the decisions constantly, and that's what makes, you know, that's why DK tanking is so fun for me. But again, all this is just bias from my part, but it actually is coming from a, you know, experience standpoint. It's not me just speaking out my ass. You know, like I said, I've played on all of them. That's just, I mean, that's what I feel, how I feel about it. How do I feel about the focus on some fights this tier? Or never mind, I just answered that. Would I ever gem dodge into a bear tank? No, not really. The thing about dodge, man, is it doesn't scale for a druid. None of your talents are going to scale with that. None of the raid buffs are going to scale with that. As Agi, you know, you're getting dodge, you're getting crit, you're getting attack power, and you know, it's scaling with your talents and raid buffs and things like that. So Agi is just like an all-around solid stat for a bear. So, I mean, dodge isn't really doing anything other than giving you a little bit of a dodge. I think it has a higher rate by a margin compared to Agi. Like I said, I don't have like 100% answer for you on that, but yeah, that's a pretty straightforward. I'm sure somebody could look it up. Actually, I'm curious on that. Like 1 point of Agi equals this point of dodge, and then 1 point of dodge equals this. I'm pretty sure it's fairly close. As a Prot Warrior secondary tanky stat, would you put parry over dodge or vice versa? Keep them balanced. I'm pretty sure you want a little bit more parry than dodge on a warrior, and I think there's like a threshold of a certain amount because of your hold the line talent. You'd probably have to read a warrior tanking thread on one of those Theorycraft sites to get an actual, you know, magic number or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, you want to keep them somewhat balanced. I'm not saying Reforge all out of dodge and then you have this fuck ton of parry and things like that. You want to keep them somewhat balanced, but I know parry, because of hold the line, is going to be better for you than dodge. Would I recommend Glyph or Unglyph Frenzy for Heroic Ultraxion? The way that it would work is, I mean, if you have two druids in the raid, you would have one with the 4-piece and then one without it, and then like your tank would be without it, and then you'd have like the DPS pop it. That way they get the 30% increased healing, and then the tank would be giving his frenzy regen ticks to the entire raid who has the 30% as well. But yeah, I mean, depends on the fight, man. I'm always personally more of a fan of just giving the healers the raw throughput, you know. I mean, with their plus healing, because they're going to have a ton of shit, especially stacked up. You got all the healing circles, you got all the healer buffs and all that. It's just going to keep scaling. So I personally would go with the glyphed version on Ultraxian, but I'm pretty sure there's some super mathlete somewhere that's could provide a, you know, super in-depth answer of which one would be better, but I would be surprised if it was actually better to unglyph it on that fight just because of all the healing buffs that the healers have and things like that. I'm pretty sure giving those healers 30% increased healing would be better than your measly little hot over the portion of the duration. Dual wield soul drinkers, I will be able to answer that when I get 2 heroic ones. I haven't been able to get it. So, why do I keep playing a tank role? Did I try healing or DPSing? Yeah, I've did both, man. I mean, on my druid, throughout the history of playing my druid, I've played Moonkin, Feral Cat, Resto. You know, I've got a Resto Shaman. I mean, healing's not really my deal. I mean, I would like probably, I don't know. I just enjoy tanking. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I like just the way it plays. I like, you know, the decision-making portion a lot. Not to say that other classes or roles don't have that, but I don't know. It just meshes pretty well with me, and I find it easiest to raid lead, probably because that's what I've done for the majority of my career. But yeah. I mean, this guy here keeps saying unglyph it. You can do 30k healing as a tank without the glyph. I mean, sure, you're going to do a lot of healing, but you got to think about like Ultraxian with all your healers having that buff, and you're giving all of them an extra 30%. I'm pretty sure it's going to add up to more than just your, you know, 30k healing personally with it unglyphed. If you have Frost DK questions, post on our public forum so I can catch up with you. How do I deal with a 2-minute proc on Soul Shifting Vortex? It's RNG. Do you find ways to line it up with, say, Impales? Yeah, it's pretty annoying at times. I try to line it up with Impales as much as I can, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Either way, it's the highest stam value on a trinket. I mean, that and Indomitable Pride. So, I mean, for, say, Madness, you're going to want both of those on. And, you know, in the event that you get a proc going into the Impale, it's going to be huge because, I mean, it almost doubles your mastery. So you go, like, if you got 400% blood shield absorbs or some crazy shit like that. Do I dislike the blade barrier change? Yes and no. I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's annoying. I liked having it because it was just another little thing you had to pay attention to, but it's also kind of good that you don't have to pay attention to it sometimes. What do I think about the re-nerf to Dragon Soul? I mean, I knew it was coming. It's not, you know, everybody's going to be like, oh my god, the sky's falling, content's so easy, everybody's killing it. Well, guess what? It's the end of an expansion, supposedly, and same thing happened the past 2 expansions. Nobody should really be surprised. It is the cycle of life as far as rating goes. We're just going to end up having multiple alt runs going and things like that. If an item only have dodge and parry, which should you reforge out of for a blood DK? You want to reforge out of the parry into mastery, because especially once you start getting a lot of gear, it's going to start getting more and more and more parry heavy. And, you know, like once you're in best in slot shit, you're going to have more parry than dodge, even if you're trying to dump out of the parry, just because that's the way gear is. I mean, you're getting parry from strength, and you get a ton more strength with gear upgrades and things like that. And you're going to have, you know, when you get Horn of Winter and Blessing of Kings or Mark of the Wild, that's also going to increase your parry as well. So, you know, your dodge doesn't, you know, ever since they nerfed Agi for plate tanks, I mean, it doesn't give you any dodge. You know, your dodge never goes up, so that's why you want to focus a lot more on dodge. No, the thing, okay, you don't have to be in bear for 30 seconds. I think it's 15, and then once you pop it, you can immediately go back cat. So it's only 15 seconds of lost DPS, and it's not even lost DPS. He can still be DPSing in bear, but, yeah, I mean, it's pretty huge having that Druid 4-piece up for the end of Ultraxian if you guys are pushing it almost to the 6-minute mark. Do you think the tank buff on Ultraxian actually ended up favoring block tanks significantly with 100% uptime? No, not really. That's a really good question, because initially coming out of PTR, I was really worried, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, Ultraxian's swing timer's pretty quick. There's going to be all this shit going on. I was like, man, I'm just going to get melted on my DK. I was just like, just doing math in my head without even really getting a lot of pulls on Heroic, and I was like, I may end up having to play my Warrior for this tier because of that fight. You don't want to gear up a tank, and then we knew going into this tier, Ultraxian was going to be a huge, like Bellrock, except it's the patchwork, whatever you want to label it. Bellrock, patchwork, whatever. That's what we knew it was going to be. But once we started getting pulls on it on PTR and such, it was just like, man, like DK. DKs were just strong, man. Because your Bone Shield is on a 30-second cooldown. It has 6 charges at this point. Your Vamp Blood is on a 30-second cooldown. It was just, it was nuts, man. Just the amount of cooldowns that you had, your Dancing Rune Weapon, they all have double duration. DK, it ended up being really, really strong for that fight. And your Vamp Blood 4-piece during progression, every 30 seconds a raid gets 20% healing. Yeah, you couldn't really compare with that. A DK is really, really strong for that. That's a good question, though. How do you use Bone Shield? What do you mean you press the button? I don't understand. No, you don't use... Okay, I see you clarified here. You don't use it on cooldown. You want to use it as often as possible, but you don't want to use it just because it's off cooldown. And I said earlier, there's a lot of things that could take a charge away from your Bone Shield. Like, if you go back through and watch some of my commentaries during our Dragon Soul clears, you'll hear me on, say, Morchok. Like, when the black slime's on the ground, I don't pop Bone Shield as I'm running in, because the black slime will just tick and eat a charge of my Bone Shield. So, you can either wait behind the deal, wait for the black shit to disappear, and have Bone Shield up early and just not run in, or you could just run in, with 3 or 4 seconds left, get in on top of the boss, and then pop Bone Shield once the black stuff goes away for maximum efficiency. It's just a situational call that you're going to have to make. The biggest thing that you have to worry about is you don't want to pop it if something else is going to take a charge from it. But you do want to get it on cooldown as quick as you can, because you want it coming back off cooldown. You're not going to, Bone Shield's up for 5 minutes, so, you're not going to worry about popping it and then it falling off. It's going to fall off when the 6 charges are gone, not when the duration is done. I've seen our Pally 1-tank madness. Can a DK 1-tank it all, since fort cooldown is about 30 seconds too slow? You haven't seen a Paladin 1-tank heroic madness. Sorry. You're not going to do that. You don't have the DPS to kill it before the second impale, and you're not going to have anybody on heroic tank 2 impales. And no, Bob does not work on heroic. So that's, if that's what you're referring to, no, it does not work on heroic. Do I prefer mastery or stam stacking on DK? Is there advantage to one or other depending on the gear level? I get asked this a lot. There's a thread on our BL forums. I prefer mastery over stam because, the only downside to going mastery is you don't have a lot of HP to survive burst damage, but you kind of have enough HP to survive any burst that's in the game right now, and having more mastery is going to give you more control consistently than the stam will, okay? Not only that, but, in periods of heavy damage, mastery is even better because of its scaling better than stamina does. Say you're taking a lot of damage real quick, mastery is going to gain value, whereas stam is just, you have your HP, and as if it's, once you're death striking, it's not helping you out as much as it would be if you're stacking mastery. And the knock against stacking mastery is, well, what about magic burst? Well, on a death knight, that's a lot less to worry about because you've got AMS, and there's not a lot that's happening more than once every 45 seconds, and if there is, you've got a lot of cooldowns to compensate. You've got your Lichborn, Pet Sack, even Rune Tap. That's a pretty significant heal with Vamp Blood up and things like that. So I prefer mastery. Stamina works. It just depends on the person. A DK can survive the first impale without Icebound. Yeah, I mean, like, if you pop in Power Rune Weapon and chain spam Death Strike with VB up and have like maybe a couple of external cooldowns, you may be able to live without Icebound on Heroic, but I would not recommend trying it for every single one on Heroic, especially 25 man. My first raid ever as a tank. What dungeon was it? And how nervous? I didn't raid super hardcore in vanilla. I didn't get into the tanking super hardcore until TBC and Karazhan in the beginning. Karazhan was you know, Groll and Mag and SSC TK. Those are my first real tanking experiences. What kind of uptime should a tank expect on buffs like Inspiration? Any other buffs to watch for? Yeah, pretty much as a tank, you've got a list of things you need to keep track of. You need to keep track of Inspiration, Ancestral Fortitude. You need to keep track of Devotion Aura and or Stone Skin Totem. You need to keep track of Earth Shield. You need to keep track of the Shaman HP buff, Ancestral Vigor. You need to keep track of you know, even Beacon, you know, making sure things like that are on you. And you know, you want to basically monitor anything that can affect your survivability as a tank and make sure that you have those. So just make power auras for them. There's a huge disparity between, say, 320 dodge, 142 parry. Would you still dump the parry, or do you, yeah, that's a example somebody brought up in the guild the other day. As one of the guys in the guild, True Fire, with you know, you could reforge out of dodge and get a lot more mastery. That's probably actually the way you should go. I'm not a super math dude. You know, I try to avoid reforging out of dodge though, just because you're already short on it. You want to keep them close, but in a situation like that, since you're going to gain so much more mastery, it's probably going to be worth it. But in the end, you know, I was messing around with some numbers today. You need to probably be wearing the tier shoulders, just because they have almost 400 mastery on them, especially if you're one of the tanks that's focusing on mastery. Unless you're really focusing on avoidance. If you have an avoidance set, that's the only time I would recommend wearing the Warchalk shoulders. DKs are strong for 10 minutes. Yeah, DKs are strong both right now. Let's see. Most are single tanking 10-man. Yeah, you can single tank 10-man just because you can have a Shadow Priest go in there and dispersion one of the impales. But I mean, you can probably do that on 25-man as well. But I mean, you're not having a tank 2 or things like that. I mean, you're not necessarily solo tanking it. You're having someone with an immunity avoid the second impale. So I mean, I guess it just depends on your definition of solo tanking. But one tank is not tanking 2 impales. It doesn't matter what the tank is. Do I ever feel like I've wasted a lot of my life playing WoW? I'm just saying because you've been playing for so long. No, man. I mean, like, and it's coming from somebody that's did a lot with their life, alright? Like, I mean, I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17. You know, I did a lot prior to joining the Marine Corps. I went, you know, I mean, I've been to a lot of different countries, you know, Japan, Turkey, Kuwait, Iraq, Ireland. You know, I've been pretty much all over the world. I mean, and this isn't, I'm just trying to put it in perspective too. You know, this isn't just somebody that is just playing WoW and needs to tell themselves that they're feeling good because they want to. Like, I enjoy playing WoW. And, you know, whenever you've been in points of your life where it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, you know, you get to points in your life where it's, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, certain things that happen whenever you go to, like, Iraq and things like that. I'm pretty sure that gets the point across it. I mean, certain type of things happen, and it's like, you know, there's not really a lot more out of life that you're going to be able to see to top things like that. And I'm not saying your life is downhill from that point. I'm just trying to put it in perspective for you, all right? Like, at the end of the day, you just need to do something that makes you happy, all right? I enjoy playing WoW. I enjoy the, you know, a lot of the variables that WoW provides, you know, the competition, the sense of teamwork, and things like that. I mean, just because it's quote-unquote a video game, it doesn't really take away from what it can provide to the person. Each person's different. Some people might not enjoy it as much. I honestly and truthfully just enjoy playing the game, all right? And if playing WoW can, provide me that sense of enjoyment or whatever you want to label it, who is anybody else to judge what makes somebody else happy? So, if you're enjoying it, man, as long as you're able to keep things in perspective, there's no problem with it, yes, I play WoW a lot, but, I'm also it's just reality. Everybody's going to have their hobby, everybody's going to have their passion and things like that. If this is something that fills that void for you, or just for whatever reason you have playing, it is what it is. So I enjoy playing it, and I don't think it's wasting my time at all. So it's a good question. I was looking at some thread a couple days ago. I came to the conclusion that above 4,000 mastery on a DK is a waste. First I've heard, man, there's no diminishing returns on it. It still keeps providing value. Worst case, you're going to reforge or regem out of some of that mastery, and you're going to have, 4 or 5% more dodge or parry. And you guys know or some more stamina. You guys know my stance on that. It's that's cool. You're going to get, say you get 10% more dodge or parry, that's fine, but what's going to happen is, you don't control that dodge or parry. You control the mastery. It's consistent. It's there constantly. The dodge or parry, you can't just be like, man, I hope I dodge this, unless you're going to be able to cap, like a block cap, or, where you're going to guarantee you're either going to have a blood shield up or you're going to dodge it. I don't know how you would mathematically be able to attain that on a DK, and if somebody showed me some math, I would be like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's how it would work, but, I'm pretty sure you're not going to get to that point. I guess in a best case scenario, you would be able to have enough dodge to guarantee that your bone shield up time would be X amount, and then, by increasing your dodge and parry, you're increasing your bone shield up time, so you would have a mathematical probability at some point to have almost 100% bone shield up time. And if you could reach that number, whatever that number may be, then maybe sure. But until somebody shows somebody that, I'm not the guy finding out the math, man. So, I'm just the guy that is in there on, I'm one of the, there's only a few DKs that are in top guilds, and it's me and there's one in the EU. So, I figure out what I figure out based on PTR pulls and things like that. So, that's the information I'm able to provide to you guys. It's just, real-world implementation. I'm not the guy in the lab that's running the numbers. One man left. I don't understand what your question is exactly. You'll have to just restate your whole question if you don't mind, please. Of course, is a cool dude, man. He's been in Mumble with us a bit and things like that, and he won our contest. So, yeah, he's got a mod. He's just helping me out. Do you love No Hide? Say he wanted the BL trial spot and miss. Would you give him one? If you want an app, go for it. Depends how your interview goes. Do you tell your fellow Marines what you did in your spare time? Yes. A lot of us played well, not just me. How do you take the impale by? Do you take the impale by Death Strike just before Blood Tap? Yeah. You should have a minimum of 100k shield through Blood Shield alone, and that's outside of your cooldowns on Madness. Is War Master Blackhorn harder on 10 man than 25? Yes, it is. Does tank ever get boring to you? No, it doesn't. How do I know when to use cooldowns as opposed to awaiting heals? That's a pretty good question as well. A lot of that just comes down to healer synergy, man. You got to know your healers, and like the ones that I'm playing with. We've been playing together for going on, 2 years now. Go over a year and a half. So, you play with some of them, not as much as I play with some of them more than others, but we play so much together each week that you get a really good chemistry. It's just good communication, man. If a healer's, our healers say they're going to be moving. Well, most of our healers. They'll be like, hey, I'm moving, use something. You know, I mean, it's just communication. Or if I'm like, hey, I need help, toss me a sack. I mean, as a tank, it's your job to manage your health. You know, you need to know, I mean, even if the healer's a badass, you need to let the healer know when you need those cooldowns. Like, hey, my IBF's falling in 3 seconds. Hit me with a PS as soon as this drops. All right? You don't need to be one of those tanks that's like, you know, just sitting there and the healer is expected to throw a cooldown on you when you hit 20%. I mean, that's what's going to separate a shitty tank from a good tank, you know. Communication with your healers. It's one of the huge parts of it, you know, just making sure they understand. And, you know, there's obviously going to be some panic times where it's like, oh, shit, help, you know, because shit happens. But more times than not, you need to make sure that you have it planned out. Like, hey, I'm gonna IBF or I'm going to shield wall. Hit me with a pain sup when this falls in 5 seconds. Or, you know, hey, I don't have anything up for a minute. Toss a pally sack on me until my cooldowns start coming back up. Anything like that. How do you keep tanking interesting during farm? You can always do more alive, but can you stay more alive? Tanking is good on progression, but it gets boring on farm. That's not really true, man. I mean, well, I guess it would be if you played in a guild where you only run 1 raid a week and it's full of mains and you keep getting gear and the bosses are less and less dangerous. But for us, it changes because, you know, we do 4, 5, 6 raids a week, and, you know, we're playing on alts and things like that. And I mean, it still matters. You know, you're in there on an alt that's got a little bit less gear. Sorry, I keep coughing. But yeah, you're in there on an alt that's, you know, with less gear or something like that. You got to start working a lot harder for it. So I mean, and even if you're in there on your main, I mean, it's still, you just got to find ways to keep motivated. That's just where the self-discipline comes into play. All right, even if you are in a guild that only does run 1 raid a week, you should be in there each and every week with your mindset where it needs to be, where you're pushing yourself to the limit. You're making sure that there are no mistakes, no flaws in your gameplay. You know, hey, if I hit 20%, you know, that would be a death on progression. You need to be in the mindset of, you know, your will of necropolis, or, well, you know, whatever threshold you want to identify. Like, I don't want to hit this percent. And a lot of times it's easy to track, say, like for will of necropolis for a DK. You go through the parse at the end of the night, you see how many times your will of necropolis procced, and you're like, those are times where I could have played better. You know, I mean, you just have to find ways to challenge yourself, and just because the content's easy or things like that, I mean, hell, put some DPS gear on if you want a challenge of taking more damage and staying alive. Bottom line is, there's a way to motivate yourself. You need to find it and do it. Don't just sit there and be like, shit's easy, this is boring, you know, because if that's who you are, you're not going to find yourself, and you want to be one of the best, you're not going to find yourself in that category. You're just going to find yourself being complacent and, you know, watching from the sidelines. Okay, this guy says, when I try solo tanking normal madness on my DK, but alt I'm trying to gear, I can't take back-to-back impales, even if we get 1 impale per, because okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, what you need to do for that, if you're solo tanking it on normal, or whatever, I see what you're saying now, and you're basically getting to the 2nd impale without your IBF being up, you need to use a PS, okay, so you can say first platform, you have your dream. I'll just give you a quick rundown. First platform, you should have Bone Shield up for everyone. You should have VB up for everyone. On the first platform, you use your Dream. Okay? Then on the second platform for your Impale, you have VB, Bone Shield, and you're going to use IBF. Okay? Third platform, you're going to have Bone Shield, Vamp Blood, and you're going to use a PS. Okay? Then you're at the fourth platform. You're going to, I mean, your IBF is back up, but you don't even have to use it. You also, once per pull, you can pop Bone Shield, VB. Those are 2 prerequisites. Then you need to pop Dancing Rune Weapon, which is going to give you 20% more parry. Okay. Once your 20% more parry is active, then you pop Empower Rune Weapon and you channel Army. When you channel Army, it gives you damage reduction equal to the amount of your dodge and parry combined. Because you have 20% extra parry due to Dancing Rune Weapon being active, your army at that point is going to mitigate about 60% of your damage, which is going to be more than the IBF. So you can even use that in a pinch. Alright, so even if you don't have a PS, you can Dream the first one, IBF the second one, Army the third one with Dancing Rune Weapon active, and then your IBF will be up for the fourth one. Now you're not going to have IBF for the final phase, but you know, if you're solo tanking it, between your dream and your AMS, that should be enough. So hopefully that helps you out. Do I do drugs? No, I do not. Never have, never will. And you also need to try to get at least 1 death strike off, and if you can get 2 off, that's even better. With Vamp Blood and Mastery, it adds up pretty quickly. If a progression encounter is better suited for a class of another tank, would you switch out to that class from your DK? Yes, I would, and yes, I have. I played my Warrior slightly on Spine this tier. I ended up going with the DK last year in Firelands because of Ardent Defender. I played my Prot Paladin for progression there. Okay, that's the reason I have the classes at the end of the day. Other than just knowledge of tanking, I also have them and keep them geared to be able to provide whatever class is best. You know, but a lot of the time, you know, any tank class can make it happen. There's just some times where other tank classes are extremely better. Say like Madness with a DK. It's, you know, a lot easier than it would be, say, if I had a Warrior. Or Domo. It literally wasn't the same fight unless you had Ardent Defender, so, initially. On a Warrior tank, do you use Last Stand with Enraged Regen? Yeah, I mean, Enraged Regen's on a longer cooldown. I mean, you could, and when you do it, you know, you obviously are getting more of an HP because of the higher your HP and things like that, so... it's not something I make a habit of. I mean, it's not wrong if you end up doing that, though. 1 sec, timed out. How do I support Wild Passion financially, given the amount of your time and the role in the BO requires? It's a good question. I mean, like, I've obviously got money saved up and things like that from my time in the Marine Corps and such, so... I mean, it's definitely not like a high-paying job, you know, but like whenever you start dealing with sponsors and things like that, you get a slight bit of income, and, you know, it makes it somewhat bearable. I'll be gearing a monk, even if it ends up being cruddy, yeah, I'll have one. How do I feel about Warrior tanking? Warrior tanking is really strong if you're talking about physical damage only, but once you start talking about... magic damage and things like that, outside of shield block being active, it gets really rough really quick. Warrior tanking mobility is just, it's hands down the best, though. So, I mean, that is their niche, is they're the most mobile tank, and, you know, I mean, kiting, you're pretty much king as well. Just with shockwave, I mean, piercing hail, whatever. I unglyph VB for 1 fight and only, and that's Madness. But I mean, you could keep it glyphed, man. It's just gonna buff your death strikes a bit. But I just do it for the stam bonus. I unglyph it for that fight only. How do I use any mod to track my blood shield duration and amount? Yes, I have a mod that tracks both. You just said you had a Paladin tank. Could I ask, what enchant would you pick? I've seen some Paladin tanks use Landslide and some use Windwalk. I mean, it's straightforward, man. If you want Threat, use Landslide. If you want to live, use Windwalk. I mean, Landslide's just a Threat gain. I mean, you're not going to DPS gain. That's not going to help you stay alive. And, I mean, if you're looking at it on a progression standpoint, you know, have Windwalk. I mean, me personally, I recommend having 2 weapons. I would pull with the one with Landslide on it for Threat, and then... You know, once you enter the part of the fight where threat's not necessarily as much of a problem or DPS isn't as much of a problem, switch to Windwalk. I do that on my Death Knight. I have a weapon. I have the Deathwing 2-hander that I have Fallen Crusader on, and then I have the Deathwing or Yorsach 2-hander, which I have Stone Skin Gargoyle on. And depending on the part of the fight, depends on which weapon I'm using. And I just have it macroed. My shift middle mouse button switches between the 2 weapons. It's just a GCD, and you know, substantial gain either way. Yeah, the name of the add-on that lets me track all absorb effects is called My Custom Add-on, that you can only get if you get me 1,000 viewers. That's the name of it. If you can't find it on Curse, just let me know. I'll give you the name again. Do you think you'd really likely go back to your Druid as your main? Is my main retired, or old main? My old main is Rigsbear, yes, but I don't really see myself. I mean, if I ever had the option, I would stick with my DK forever. But I mean, I'm going to play what's best for the fight. But as far as my main goes, it's going to be my DK for the duration of the time that I play this game. What made me change my name? Well, Riggins was taken when I came to the server, so I named my druid Riggsbear. But then GM opened up the name Riggins for me, and I just changed my shaman's name because my shaman didn't really have a name at the time. So, yeah. My monk, I don't know. We'll come up with a name. Alright, so I'm getting caught up on questions from you guys. I'm going to run a couple commercials, and then we're going to get into some log browsing. If you guys have any logs that you want me to look over for tanks in your guild, friends, whatever, I've already got a couple up here. We're going to break it down into some log browsing for the next probably, little bit at least. I mean, we still got some time left in this Q&A, and I'll also keep answering questions from you guys. I'm just going to run a couple commercials. I haven't ran any up till this point, so just stick it out with me, watch the commercials if you can, and help me out, and then we'll get back to this. I know some people don't see the commercials, but we just gotta wait for the people that are watching them, and then we'll get going again. Okay. Commercial done. I don't know how it works. I don't know if I get credit if you guys have ad block on. Probably not, but whatever, I'm not gonna, can't do anything about it. But you guys know that, the only way I really get paid through streaming is by, you guys watching the commercial and things like that. So that's the reason I have to run commercials and such. So, small price for you guys to pay. Just watch the commercials. If I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't, but, yeah, that's the way that I get compensated through doing all this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm here to help you guys share some knowledge and things like that. So just help me help you. Let's get back to the Q&A. Okay, I got this guy's parts here. We're going to go through some of the wipes. Let's look Spine of Deathwing. Let's look at their wipes here. Let's go ahead and go to the longest one. We got a 948 wipe. Let's check this out. Okay, we got, let's just look at damage now. Let's see what kind of raid comp we're dealing with. Then we're going to go through and give these tanks a bit of advice. Looks like we have a, oh cool, we got a DK tank and a warrior tank. Okay, yeah, he's kind of high because he's probably got Blood and Thunder. Alright, so there's a pretty good comp going. Then you got a druid probably, I'm assuming, is picking up bloods on the final platform. Final plate, whatever. So, alright, let's see. Let's look at damage taken. Let's check this out a bit. One thing we're going to look here, okay, this guy has a lot of melee damage taken. Let's just compare this to, say, one of our spine pulls. Alright, let's go to last night's first raid. Kills, Spine of Deathwing, okay. Our spine's really sloppy. So let's just go to, let's cut out the same time frame. Let's go to 9 minutes and 48 seconds into the fight. Let's trim out that much of it and see where we're at. So we've got, this is a 12-minute long pull. So let's trim out like, okay, that's third plate. Let's just trim out. Let's look here. Let's see. Malg. Tendon dies. Okay, so this looks like, alright, let's get the, alright, the second burning tendon dies. Let's make sure we're on there. Okay, let's go through their 2 pops and then we'll compare this to our 2 pops. Alright. Alright, so let's see, I took about 20,000 damage per second, this guy's about 14, so that's good. We were actually on, we did an extra entire, we fucked up our thing, so we had to, it's kind of hard to base it off of because we had an extra amalg up altogether there because we messed up killing one too early that time. So either way it goes, what we're going to do, we're going to go and look at this guy's, we're going to go look at their DK's usage here. So let's go to his buffs cast. Let's look at how many times he popped Vamp Blood, Dancing Rune Weapon. Look at his Blood Shield uptime, Bone Shield, IBF. This is good so far. AMS and okay. Let's take that and let's go here to mine. Just open up it the same way. Vamp Blood, 4 for me, 5 for him. Then we've got Dancing Rune Weapon, 2, 3. And then we've got what do we do next? Blood Shield. Let's look at Blood Shield uptime, and then we've got Bone Shield and AMS and IBF. Okay. It's kind of hard to look at. The more things that you want to look for the most part, is just, I mean, this guy's doing a pretty good job of using his cooldowns. Our pull, this thing is, well, let's see, from 42 or 44, that's 7 minutes compared to a lot over 7 minutes for us. It's about, so ours is about a minute longer, the same amount of time frame, but this looks pretty solid from this. He actually has a better uptime than, he got an extra Vamp Blood off compared to what I did, which is good. You want to have that up pretty often on the fight because of how healers, you're fighting against the debuffs and things like that. And Dancing Rune Weapon, I more or less just use that on this fight as a DPS cooldown on the tendon for more damage on the tendon. I'm not sure how he's popping his here. It looks like he has 3 uses in the span of this. Maybe each one of those on the tendon. You'd have to do a lot more digging to find that. He's got, a lot of this also depends on strat, like the uptime on his Blood Shield. And then it also depends on how much damage he's trying to pour into the amalg. So Spine's a little bit harder to look at as far as cooldowns and seeing if they're doing it like correctly and whatnot, because a lot of it just varies depending on, you know, like I said, your strat and your timings and stuff of that nature. So use IBF twice. I'm assuming that's on the roll there, maybe, or no, that's during the first plate pop. So. Yeah, if he's if the healers are full out DPSing for them, that would be a good time to use IBF. A lot of the times it's not even really needed just because you're death striking the tendon, and the IBF isn't, I mean, the amalgams with no stacks aren't really breaking through your blood shield as it is. So, and then AMSing each one of the amalgam explosion, that's pretty key, and things like that. So, I mean, this DK looks like he's doing pretty, he's got pretty good timing wise as far as spine goes. Let's see. If, I don't know if the guy who's watching this is still watching chat, but if you had some questions more so about, you know, specific parts of the fight, I could offer you a lot more information and things like that. Let's see, he dark commanded 6 times. That's kind of weird because he only has 6 taunts throughout the second plate. That does not really, I mean, I've got 17. Yeah, 6 is on the fair. Let's just check out where each one of these were. So there's 3 taunts on the first plate, picking up all the amalgams, and then throughout the entire. Okay, so what's happening with this guy is he's only tanking amalgams, it seems. He's not picking up any bloods. Interesting. Yeah, I'd have to see more about the fight to be able to give him more insight, though. But, depending on the strat, yeah, maybe you guys have the Druid tanking already. But, I mean, is that guy still in here or not? Okay, he's in here. What are you guys having problems with on the fight? Like, what wall are you hitting at about 9 minutes? Because the fact that this guy isn't picking up any bloods, that can't really be a good thing, man. Like, what do you have him doing? You're overwhelmed after the second tendon is dead. Okay. Well, if it's taking you 9 minutes, I mean, that's right about like 9:40. Yeah, that's you're pushing it, man. You need to more or less get there quicker. You need to do what you're doing, but just doing it quicker. All right, like you need to be on the last plate by. I'll tell you. Hang on. I'm going to give you a time frame here to shoot for. Because, yeah, almost 10 minutes, that's too much. You should already be done. Okay, this is 12:01, and we messed it up royally. So let me tell you... Okay, that died then. Okay, so right about here. This is from 44... 45, 46, 47. Yeah, you need to be at about 7 minutes. 7 to 8 minutes you need to be going into the third plate. Like the way that the fight works, I mean, you're just hitting the blood cap, man. Like you need to get there quicker. You need to trim about a minute, maybe even 2. So one thing you need to look at, I mean, well, the fact that the DK is not tanking anything other than amalgams, that's a problem. You need the DK helping pick up bloods as well. Like there's no reason for him to not be picking up bloods. I'm going to go really in depth for this for you, if you don't mind. If you guys don't kill it, or you're still having some questions about how to refine it, even if you do kill it, I would like to use your guild's logs, and if you can get a video for me for this coming Monday, I'm doing a spine walkthrough, and then we can use your guild and all that as just a, you know, I can more or less give you straight up commentary and how to fix it and things like that, and we can do that on Monday. So just shoot me a PM on Twitch. Link me some just basic info, like a point of contact, World of Logs home like calendar link, and you know, I'll start doing some homework for you guys and see what I can find out. Yeah, Monday I would like to do that. I want to follow up with you guys because you guys are like, this is a kind of guild that I mean, you guys are on the verge, man. You're pretty close to getting it done, and this is a perfect example of being able to help somebody out with just strat adjustment, because it looks like you guys know what's going on, just need a few tweaks. Okay. So yeah, I don't want to harp too much on that right now because we're trying to keep this on the tank related stuff, but yeah, I really like helping out with raid strategies and things like that. Why are people telling me to tab in? He doesn't need a fucking buck out of the bank. Hang on, I'm busy. Holy fuck. Go buy one out of the bank. It's like 100 gold. Let's see. Let me catch up with what I'm doing here. Like, I'm busy. I'm not gonna, like, tab in to give you a belt buckle out of the fucking bank. Like, go buy one and bill me. Let's see. What are some good tanking add-ons for warriors in Journal that you use? The only thing I use on my warrior is I just have a mod that has my rage bar in the middle of my screen, so I can see my rage really pretty readily and things like that. Do I need a capture card or something to stream while? No, you don't. Just use XSplit. Yeah, I'm going to look at this guy's log here. This is a Yorsage log. I'm going to take a look at this and help him out. For your size, yes, you want to be using the Tolbrad trinket. It's better than a 410 trinket. All right, it doesn't matter what other trinket option that you have. As a tank that's a DK, pallet, whatever, you need to be using the Tolbrad trinket on your size, because there is zero need for you know, a little extra stam when you can mitigate 10 seconds worth of damage almost completely through using that trinket. So yeah, 1 sec, I'll get to this 10-man log. Okay, this guy says, we have myself and the warrior tanking most bloods and the feral getting the rest. Yeah, you don't want the feral tanking until the third plate. You only want him going bear to hold the amount that you're trimming, and then you want him going back cat on each tendon up until you don't want him really tanking anything. Between the warrior and the DK, you guys should be able to handle all the bloods. We'll get into more of that later. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I'm going to get to this 10-man log. Just give me a sec. Okay, real quick. Let's go through this log here. And let's see. Let's go to this guy. Let's go to players. Assuming it's Frosty Pone. And this is, I mean, you guys can just watch how I'm doing this with World of Logs. And as a tank, doesn't matter your class, you need to be very skilled as far as, you know, being able to look through this and find out what you need to find out. So let's look this guy. Oh wait, wrong guy. This is a DPS. Okay, 1 sec. I want to look at this guy. Alright. Yeah, here we go. So let's check out this guy. Let's just start from the top. We've got 841. Is this a kill? Okay, yeah, this is a kill. So we got IBF. We want to look at the uptime on that. We want to look at the uptime on his anti-magic shell. I can already tell you that that's a problem. Look at his uptime on Lichborn. Look at his bone shield uptime. His blood shield uptime, his dancing rune weapon, his vamp blood, and there's his armor pot, and okay, we got Army of the Dead here. We've got his Will and Necropolis proccing, and let's go through here before we start critiquing already. And just look at his Hand of Sacks, his... Okay. On some fights you would want to look at this, but whatever. We'll go ahead and look at it just because I want you guys to understand the habit of looking at it. Making sure he doesn't have a... where they want to show the beacon. Yeah, I don't see a paint suppression. Just glance over that real quick. Okay, so more or less, whenever you get done with the fight as a tank, you want to look at this is what you need to bring up. You need to bring up your buffs and debuffs. Start looking at the green bars, and you need to start just piecing together parts of the puzzle. All right, and however you want to organize them. Sometimes I, put the fuller one, the ones that are more full up top, like if blood shield, like start out with that. But whatever, you get the point. You more so just want to look at this and see like how things are going. All right, so the thing about your size is you're going to be looking. If I'm too loud, turn me down. There's a volume button. Sorry, I have my mic turned down. Don't know what else to tell you. There's also a volume button on Twitch as well, so adjust it if you're having problems with the volume. Anyways, like I was saying, you need to understand that each one of the slimes is about 1 minute. Or you have your 1 minute cooldowns up for every single slime phase. All right. So with that said, you should see an AMS use on every single one of the slime phases. You should see a Vamp Blood on every single one of the slime phases, which he pretty much does have for the most part. You should see a Dancing Rune Weapon on every other one, okay, at least. You should see Bone Shield on every single one of them. You should see, you can Lichborn every other one. You can IBF every third, which looks like he did here. So I'd say the only problem, just looking at this right now, is he did not AMS every one of them, and that's causing the healers to dump a little extra healing in them. I mean, if he knows he's going to be fine, whatever, you can make an argument that he doesn't necessarily have to do it, but, I mean, AMS is up for every single one, and you should be AMSing the last 5 seconds of the debuff. That way healers don't even have to put heals into you. Blood Shield is pretty good uptime. Physical damage on that fight's almost negligible. He's armor potting. That's good. However, he armor potted while IBF was active. That's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to need anything more than IBF. Anything more than that's almost wasted. You're only going to get one armor pot. I would recommend using it outside of an IBF, just because you're doubling up there when it's not, you'd be better suited to use the armor pot, like, say, during this time frame where he doesn't have anything up, somewhere in there, Army of the Dead, once a fight, not bad. It's probably in a purple between IBFs. That's a good call. Hand of Sack, that's good. Let's look at his healing. Looks like he had, you guys have a Paladin and a Shaman. Okay, so there's no PS available and things like that. He only got one Hand of Sack, so, he could have probably gotten more of those, or maybe the Paladin's using it on someone else. Ancestral Vigor, I would tell the Shaman to probably do a better job of keeping Riptide or something on him, because his HP buff falling is making it, worse on the guild, because you want to keep that HP buff fully stacked at all times. And, by doing so, you're helping out against the magic burst as well, once the stat gets super high and things like that. So you want to make sure that Shaman is keeping up Riptide, because that's going to keep up the Vigor buff as well. And it's, as long as you don't apply it during purple, the ticks from Riptide can refresh the Ancestral Vigor, but it's not going to apply a stack of the corruption shit. So, all in all, not that bad. He's using his 1 minute cooldowns for the most part pretty well with Vamp Blood and Bone Shield, but just tell him to use AMS a bit more. Let's see. Try to get caught up on some more questions that you guys have here. Got another parse. This is good. We're going to pull this one in. See the got another log. Okay, I'm going to go through these two logs, and then we're probably going to try and wrap it up for today. Just trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Okay, got these two logs open. I'm going to help them out real quick. Real quick before I get into these two, if you guys haven't followed the channel, do me a favor and just hit follow and then also to the social media links below, the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Follow me on all those. And yeah, so let's get down to business here with these. This is a... Okay, you need to let me know real quick what is... give me a fight that you want me to look at here, alright, with this full report. And we got some spine pulls here. This is 1120, okay. 25 heroic spine. Let's go ahead and look at damage taken. Find out who the... one sec. Okay, yeah, I'm going to hurry through these. I've got the raid soon. So, let's look at this guy, the Blood DK. Spine's kind of hard, like I said earlier. Just a lot of it depends on your strat and things like that. But we're going to go ahead and look at this. He's got the Neltharion buff for the full time. That's good. Let's look at his Blood Shield. Yeah, I can't really judge it, like I said. Vamp Blood, that's really good. That means he's using it pretty often. Bone Shield, that's one thing you can improve. You only pop Bone Shield one time after the beginning of the pull. Try to get in the habit of putting that up a little bit more. Dancing Rune Weapon, I mean, I don't have perfect uptime on either on Spine just because a lot of times it's not necessarily needed, but at all times you need to, try and help out as much as you can. IBF 3, that's good. I'm assuming that's during the first roll. But then at some point during the second plate pop, maybe even the second roll, and then this looks like the end. So yeah, the IBF usage looks pretty good. AMS, you want to pop this more. You want to be popping AMS every time that you guys are popping a plate. There's no real reason not to. So that would be something I would say there to make sure you're doing. You got Earthen Armor. And well, let me see where that is. It's bugged out right now. So let's see. We got Van Blow. We got IBF. We got I don't see any Lichborn. Maybe you didn't need it. Maybe you did. Just didn't have it. Looking at your healing here, there's no Death Pact. I mean, this is just being completely critique. There's could be answers for every bit of this. You might not have needed it, in which case, ignore what I'm saying. But just little things you want to look at. Make sure you're sacking your pet if you need to. Make sure. Let's see how many rune taps you used. Do you not use any rune tap? That's actually pretty weird. Like, yeah. Wait, clicked on the wrong tab. There we go. I was about to say that doesn't make sense at all. Alright, 6 rune taps. That's not bad. Blood Shield Discharge. So yeah, no Pet Sack. And no Lichborn either. But yeah, completely dependent on your strat, your healers, and things like that. But really good uses of the VB. Try to milk some more AMSs out of it. Good IBF timings. And Dancing Rune Weapon. You maybe could fit in one more of those around in here, but at the end of the day, that's not that big of a game changer. And then try to, get Bone Shield up a bit more. Other than that, pretty solid. Let's see. Alright, we're going to go back to this, and I'm going to go through kills. Hagara, he says, I think, somebody. We're going to look at this 10-man heroic. We go to damage taken. I'm assuming he is solo taking the fight on a Death Knight, which is super fun. Alright, yes. He's taking focus assault, second person. Alright, so we're going to go through buff cast. I've only got 10 minutes, so I'm going to hurry through this. Let's see. Let's start out with Blood Shield. That's, whoa, that's, hang on. He's switching between Blood and Unholy. I'm assuming this is during the first. This is okay. Well, looks like you're going to Unholy phase for the lightning. I don't know, that doesn't really make sense to me why you would be doing that. I mean, the run speed gain is very, very marginal, and you're going to be taking a lot more damage. But, yeah, even still, let's keep going here. We got Bone Shield. You had it on the pull. It fell off all the way through. You definitely should have refreshed Bone Shield coming out of this first phase of whatever it was and had it up for the first Focused Assault, because it's off cooldown right here, and you could have re-Bone Shielded. So you just Bone Shielded 2 more times throughout the whole fight. Dancing Rune Weapon, you want to be popping that pretty much on the pull for threat, and on, you know, let's see, IBF, you only use that once. You want to be using IBF at least twice on Hagara. You want to be using it to soak both the Focused Assault and 1, if not 2, of the Ice Lance beams at one time. You see how many times that your Indomitable Pride is proccing, and there's a reason for that. And, yeah, it's... Your Will of Necropolis also procs a couple times. Vamp Blood, over the course of a 9-minute fight, you only pop Vamp Blood 3 times. I mean, if you didn't need it, I mean, you make the argument, I mean, you didn't need it, but, yeah, just make sure that you're using your short cooldowns as much as possible. No Lichborn here again. I don't know, Lichborn's really well. It works out for this fight really good too, because, you know, if you know when the Focused Assault's coming, you can pull RP, and then as soon as it starts Focused Assaulting, I mean, you get a quick Blood Shield, and you can keep Death Striking while every other GCD is a, you know, 50k death cool to yourself. It just makes the healer's life that much easier. Okay, I mean, you guys, I see a lot of people that don't spec Lichborn, but I'm telling you, it's just there's no reason not to do it. You need to spec Lichborn. It's a Death Knight. You're only losing a few points worth of damage out of Bloodcake Blade and Virulence, whatever you want to put those points into. It's not going to save you like Lichborn will. Lichborn will save you. There's just no reason not to have it, okay? Anyway, so that is caught up with those logs. I mean, not critiquing too bad. None of these are horrible. You guys are saying, you know, make sure that you're going through doing the same thing that I'm doing, continuing to refine your play and things of that nature, okay? All in all, some good jobs. Make sure that person I told from that Spine Guild, make sure you PM me about your guild info and things like that, and we're going to get the ball rolling on doing a, you know, I'm going to do a spine walkthrough on Monday, and we'll have you guys in here try to get me a video or something like that. So thanks again, everybody, for watching the Tank Q&A. If you guys have questions that I was unable to answer, either due to missing them or just not having time, you guys follow me on Twitter, and you post any questions that you have on Twitter, and you know, I will get to every one of them. Every day or so, I go through there and answer every single question, as long as it's not some troll shit. And, you know, I will give you answers to anything that you're asking me. Yes, the raid will be streamed. I'm going to take a quick AFK, get some food, mute my mic, talk about some stuff in officer chat and things like that. But, you know, once we're done here, I'm going to play a few commercials. You guys do me a favor and stick through and watch them. I haven't given you many commercials at all throughout the walkthrough here. So, you know, just help me out and watch a few in a row. And things like that while you guys AFK or whatever. So thanks again. This is every Wednesday deal, and it talks about, you know, we talk about anything tank related. Warrior, DK, Paladin, Druid, doesn't matter. Questions, logs, videos, all welcome. This is every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central. Tomorrow is Thursday, which is going to be the okay, that's the Reddit tank winner contest thing. And they get to come in here, and it's just one-on-one advice, and it's streamed, and you guys can help see or watch me more or less help somebody in a one-on-one point of view, and just working with them in Skype and things like that. So it's basically something's going on here every weekday at 5 p.m. So thanks for watching. You guys make sure to follow the channel, follow Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. The social links below, and if you want to chip in, use the button. But yeah, thanks again. Make sure you guys stick around for the raid. All right, good shit.